Greetings, R. Smalek here. Welcome back to another reflection video. This is the second and final reflection video for what I'm calling days 5 and 6 on surviving Mindcrack Island. This equates and brings you up to speed as to the official Mindcrack episode 4 that ends with an immunity challenge you see behind me and a council vote. Before I say anything else, I'm going to warn you that there are spoilers. If you have not watched the official episode, or if you have not watched my point of view episodes on the prior two challenges, you may want to do that before watching this one. Okay, if you are still with me, the next episodes that will air is going to be the official Mindcrack episode 5, which actually covers day 7 and possibly more days, but at least day 7. So that will actually air on Friday, April 8th. My reflection video will follow on April 9th, with my point of view being on April 8th. And then if there were two challenges in episode 5, I will have additional episodes the following Monday, Tuesday. Okay, so we're going to cover a recap of what happened in day 6 in the immunity challenge. I'm going to talk about the other point of view videos that I watched this week. And I'm going to give a quick update on my hit list. Give a couple shout outs, and that's about it. So let's get right into it. So on the island, this is where the red camp is, but we are using a multi-world server. So they basically take a copy of this and they paste in the different challenges and they whisk us over there. This particular challenge was archery. One person from each team had an infinity bow and they had to shoot at these targets, which you can see are, some are close, some are a ways off. And you had to hit these buttons, which would then ignite TNT and explode the targets. Now, I'm playing this at a view distance of 16 chunks. When we did this on the server, I'm going to guess that we were at about 10 chunks at the time. And even at 16 chunks, you can see that it's actually probably quite difficult to hit the targets because you can't really see where your arrow goes. Now that one I could see pretty well. That one I could see okay. But again, we were playing in a much different version of Minecraft back then. Yeah, see, I have no idea where that arrow went. And the people had an infinity bow with flaming arrows, and yet it was still hard to see. And not only that, but it was actually hard to see the chunks update with the explosions from back there. It could have been just the time it took for the TNT to explode, or it could have been that the target itself actually updated, but we couldn't see it from back here because of the way Minecraft used to render. So the blue team, because they had won the challenge with the Tiki memory matching, they had a spotter over here on this platform. I think it was Honey, and she was able to tell them up, left, right, whatever on these back two targets. That proved to be an immense bonus for them, because as you saw, the red team ultimately lost. Now, this was probably one of my least favorite moments in this whole entire experience because I had to sit out for archery, which is one of my favorite things to do in Minecraft, and because of what happens afterwards. So I sat out with Brian, Lorgon111, and I, Suchel. And the first thing that happened was you were supposed to take your bow and one arrow from this chest. In fact, here's the bow. And you're supposed to run all the way over here and shoot. And then when you felt like not shooting anymore, you'd run back and you'd tag another team member in. So you can see it's actually pretty far. And Desi was first on our team. He grabbed the bow. He ran over there. He realized he didn't bring an arrow. He had to run back. So we lost some time. I will say that if I had really realized that at the time, that would have lowered Desi on my list, or I guess raised him on my hit list for making that mistake. But in the end, I think blue team was really struggling with the arrows, so the red team did catch up, but then we weren't able to make the transition to those back two targets. And as I said, we lost. We couldn't see them. We couldn't see the explosions. Now, the red team was not allowed to have a spotter. Whoops. And so we were not allowed to. So Desi and I, for example, or sorry, Suchel and Brian and I couldn't give any clues, but we couldn't see what was happening at all from back here. Like, I couldn't even see the targets existed. So I ran up and I stood over here on the beach and I muted Mumble so that they couldn't hear me in case I accidentally said anything spotter-like. But I did this purely for a filming perspective, not to cheat or anything like that. So I got to see pretty firsthand what was happening. It was frustrating to watch. I mean, there's really no other way for me to say that. So after we lost, we had no clue how the council would work. The biggest fear that I actually had this entire competition was while I was at council doing my vote, they asked us to, say something about your vote to the camera. Now, they're not editing most of those into the official episodes, which I think is a shame, but they're definitely in my point of view and in the other people's point of view videos. And I wasn't sure, though, if any other contestants were going to get to see that before the next challenge. And so I was really hesitant, as I think a lot of people were, to say too much because, that could potentially tell someone that you're thinking low of them, and then they would turn on you, and they would potentially vote you out. So it was stressful. And same thing with the interviews. I wasn't sure exactly how much of the video people would see beforehand. And so I really didn't want to give anything away. So I was really hesitant in saying what I said in my video. But basically, I voted Van because I had already in my mind at this point made up the idea that he was the most popular or most well-known of our tribe at that point in 2013, and that he was the biggest threat because he was organizing us and making friendships, which, I now come to see Brian was doing a lot more organizing. But anyway, I voted for Van. So I think even in the Reddit comment, I thought I had voted for Suchel, or if I was doing this again, I would have voted for Suchel, but I didn't. I voted for Van. And I think that caught him. I think it caught him by surprise that he had any votes when we were at council, and as well as some of the others. And then that was kind of a wake-up call to all of us on Red that, oh, shoot, we can't leave this to like a random vote. Like, we need to actually start coordinating and lobbying for ourselves and lobbying to have people voted off. Oh, look at the weird. That was weird. I could see the flashing through the wool. We started lobbying for ourselves and started finally getting conspiratorial. Our heads were finally in the game. Okay, so that's basically, what happened. You can see my point of view with exactly, what I was thinking at the time, what I was saying, and I can tell you now that I wish I would have been in this one, but it's all good. I watched a couple of point of views from the other contestants in the past week, and I'm going to try to summarize those. So I watched I watched the official episode 4, and the link will be in the description. Things that I noticed in there that I wasn't really aware of prior was the blue team actually had created a little base for themselves using leaves, and they were trying the tactic of fighting the mobs inside their base, and it actually proved to be working okay until blazes showed up and shot them in their base and actually set their base completely on fire, which proved to trap them in and cause a whole lot of havoc. And I thought it was really funny, but I had no clue that was going on, obviously, because I was on the red side fighting the blazes and such on our little peninsula. We had a very different tactic. We were staying very mobile. We were not we were not pinned in. I did hit it. Nice. And I just saw an arrow go flying up in the air. Hopefully it doesn't come back. We saw, let's see. So in the official point of view, then, meanwhile, I see Suchel on the beach with Van actually tending to the chicken. And I see him ask, without much tactic at all, basically just like casual conversation. So who do you think should be voted off? And I was like, okay, so we're starting to do some smack talking. You know, that's pretty cool. They're starting to conspire. But he was doing it without any sort of like tactics at all. He's just like, who do you think should be voted off? There was no rationale. There was no discussion of anything. And Vaughn seemed to kind of hesitate in answering. And then Suchel just goes, well, I was thinking about our Smalek. And I'm like, what? What do you mean you... So I might have actually come pretty close to being voted off in this challenge. Which, you know, that was a shock to me watching it. And I love the fact that occurred. And then you see Suchel talk to Desi, and he just goes up to him with the same thing. So who do you think should be voted off? Like, no discussion of the merits or the flaws of any of us, why we should be voted off, anything like that. It was just, who do you think should go? And as you saw the vote at the end, I was okay with the way the vote went, that Suchel was ultimately voted off. And again, I agree with, well, I think I talked about it in my last video, but basically the two main issues at this day and time that I would cite for him being voted off was his lag in general, which didn't really hurt us, but had the potential to hurt us. He did have to sit out on the parkour one for fear of it, and that sort of signed his one of his death notes for me. But man, he pressed the wrong button on the tiki. I already talked about that, but I still feel like that was such a bad move, such a mistake. Like, I know we didn't strategize like the best you could possibly strategize, but man, that was a mistake. So anyway, and in the official video, there's a scene where Honey is out there spotting for the blue team, and she's gasping and she's making frustrated noises, and it was so funny. And Desi's like, I feel like I should pay $5 a minute to listen to this. It was just a really, really funny thing that I don't remember from my point of view. It may have been in there, but I may have not heard it whenever I was rewatching it and editing, whatever. And then, so the most heartbreaking part of the whole episode, though, of this whole day, and one of the things about this whole competition that really sticks out in my mind is the red team gathers up on the beach. We all go off to council where we have to swim because there's no boats. And all of a sudden we realize, or I'm the first to realize it and said something, I believe. Wait, there's only 5 of us. We're missing somebody. Who's missing? And for a split second, nobody realized who was missing. Sad part number 1. Then we realized it was Desi, and my heart broke like, oh my God, we left a team member behind. That was so bad. We get to council, and we have obviously no way to contact him. We have no way to go back and get him. It was like we forgot him. And Good thought it was awesome. You know, he's having a fun laugh at it. Desi finally shows up. We have our council talk. We vote. And then Good's about to wrap things up. And everyone's like, wait, Good, you forgot to let Desi vote. I mean, it couldn't have been scripted better than that. It was so funny. Okay, then I watched a couple of videos from Honey. I actually watched her day 3, part 3, all the way up to her day 4, part 2. I think that was 4 episodes. She finally got her brightness settings turned up in her point of view, so that's good. We can actually see what's going on. That helped her a lot. And the blue team in general, now that they're down to 3 members, they seemed a lot more organized to me. Dyer is playing really smart. He's even like fishing on the way to council instead of just swimming. So he's constantly thinking about the competition, not just hanging out and chatting. And we also got the reveal. See, now I think that might have blew up. No, I guess I'm just not that good a shot. See, this is tough. Oh, I'm shooting at the farthest one. I thought I was shooting at the second farthest one. We got the reveal that, or the confirmation that the beds, even though, so we didn't have a bed on the red team, but the blue team had our bed and their own bed. They would keep setting their spawn and they would die and keep getting sent back to the beach, and they couldn't figure out why that was happening. Well, I think Honey and Dyer and these guys figured out when they swapped our worlds back in that version of Minecraft Bucket or whatever we were using, it would mess up your spawn point. And so even though they had reset their spawn in the bed, it would send them back and make them walk through the jungle to recover their stuff. It was actually a real pain in the butt. And we had to travel the whole time, so we never realized it, but they figured it out. Good also confirmed that both sides, red and blue, had the same number and same types of mobs assaulting us. So the blue team thought that it was unfair because they had blazes trapping them in their little house, which I still think is funny. We had at least four blazes on the shore. So, and it was also revealed, minor trivia, that we almost didn't do the trivia matching puzzle. We almost skipped it because there was some bug with the mechanic. Now, I think you might have seen that bug in my reflection episode 5, but they did get it fixed, and we did actually do that competition. I wonder what would have happened or what would have changed if we hadn't done it. I know they had at least one backup challenge that never got used the whole series, and I'm not sure if I'll include anything about that in my reflection because I actually don't know what it was. So anyway, you have to wait and see. Like I said, it wasn't used. And then let's see. I guess to be fair though, talking about the blue team trapping themselves in their base with the blaze, I would have done the same thing. I would have gone for easy shelter and I probably would have gotten trapped. So I don't fault them at all for that. It made for really funny TV. And then the last thing I'll say about Honey's videos is there was a really nice inclusion, a shout out to a guy named Witherrun. Witherrun was I'm not sure, a member of the Broken Buttons build team. That's Blame the Controllers build team. One of the people that built this island and built all the sets, and you see him in the bedrock box with us. There we go. I win legit for blue. Whoops, I won for the wrong team. And it was just nice to see him because he got to actually see us do parts of the challenge. I did not see a good Jay Sano recap this week. I think they're having trouble scheduling, so they're going to maybe do 2 episodes at a time, but I really want to hear their point of view because they are both super Survivor fans, and I really want to know what their perspective is on how we were doing and what we were doing and that sort of thing. Okay, that is not the bedrock box that we spent our time in. I was just curious what that was. And then I saw episode from Vaughn. Again, Vaughn being on the red team, a lot of what he had in his episode was the same as what I had, except when we split off. He and some of the others did keep more of their bedrock box footage, the holding pen that they kept us in between challenges. I got rid of mine. I didn't edit a lot of it into my videos because Good had wanted this to be very immersive and not show us, like in the official video, not show us who we're being interviewed by and not show like the bedrock box in between challenges. So I cut a lot of that out of my episode. I did save some screenshots, but I'm actually glad because watching their episodes, their point of views reminded me of a lot of things that I had forgotten. And in particular, Vaughn admiring Dire Dwarf's skin, where he had on the top of your legs of your skin, you usually want to put the same color as the bottom of your body. And he had a white gap in his skin, for lack of a better word, and we were joking that it was a banana hammock. So that was funny from Vaughn's video. And then I saw one of Lorgon's reflection videos, and he brought up a good point, another good point against iSuchel, which he didn't actually say it in his voting, but he said it in his reflection video, that iSuchel was a bit of a wild card while we were fighting here on the beach at night. iSuchel was one that would kind of rush in and attack Enderman without us having really proper shelter to do that. So that is another good point for why Suchel got voted off, even though it wasn't mentioned in the actual episode. So yeah, I think that's pretty much my main stuff I wanted to say about the challenge. I hope this gives you some insight into, me looking back at what I saw firsthand, as well as some more context for what was going on the show. I'm super, super enjoying sharing this stuff with you guys. So for those of you who are sticking with me and interested, thank you so, so much. At this point, I think it's pretty clear who I would have voted off. I won't spend more time on that, but I will give a couple quick shout outs to commenters on my YouTube video. So please do feel free to comment if you're enjoying this. I just love to see new people's names. MDogAwesome32 said, what was my reaction to my name being thrown out by iSuchel? I think you heard about that in just the past few minutes. Purrs and Scratches was speculating that maybe Adrian was hustling because he felt vulnerable. I actually don't think that's the case. I think he was genuinely surprised that he was even being considered to be voted out. I think he just was hesitant in how he wanted to broach the conversation. And so he just straightforward asked, who do you think you're going to vote out for? He didn't use a lot of tactics. But I don't think he did that just to hustle. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that there's actually other conversations going on that they just didn't include in the official video. But I would say up to this point, Red Team hasn't had a lot of them, and we're just starting to have them now that we realize the game is real. Okay, the last thing that I always do is I encourage you to go check out the Mindcrack subreddit. There's a sticky thread for, discussing what happened in these episodes. And then there's a prediction thread that goes up every Wednesday, so that should be up tomorrow. And that will allow you to vote on who you think gets voted out next or who stays till the end. There's also a Go for the Gold thread where people are kind of speculating on those two topics as well. I think that's it for now. I'm planning to keep the same sort of structure to my videos at this point. And I'm still waiting for anyone to comment on what do you think, whoever makes it to the end of this thing, what's the first thing they should do when they get on the Mindcrack server? Let me know in the comments. I would actually really like to know that. Thanks for watching. See you next week.